I'm pretty excited today because this Kickstarter has finally arrived. It's been about 2 years since I backed this. It's the M90 Mini and Micro Bluetooth boom boxes from New Wave Toys. If you don't know what the M90 is, well, it's that thing behind me there. I made a video about this. There's a pop-up up there if you want to see it, or a link in the video description. But this, just to briefly recap, it's known as the king of boomboxes by a lot of people. I mean, there are other boomboxes that could fight for that crown, but that's just what this is referred to as, known in circles of boombox collectors as one of the kind of holy grails in a way. Very expensive now, if you could even find one for sale. And what New Wave Toys have done is make a Bluetooth speaker and radio that looks just like it, and it will look just like it as well. Let me just pop this on here, because if you're unfamiliar with New Wave Toys, well, they've got great attention to detail. Let me just get a couple of things I bought from them in the past. We've got the Asteroids arcade game, beautiful thing. I've got another one down here. I never opened this one. I don't know why, I just didn't really have anywhere to display it, but one day I will do. The Dragon's Lair arcade game as well. Again, beautiful attention to detail on these things. And I think from there, after these sold quite well, they then started branching out, and you might have seen one of these things. It's a battery pack or battery bank USB thing, charge it up, add extra power to your phones or whatever, that looks just like the original Walkman. So I think after doing this, they got the idea, hold on, there's a bit of a demand for other things other than just mini arcade machines. These sold very well and sold out pretty quickly, so they moved on to this M90. Now, it's taken them longer than they anticipated to get this to people. As I say, it was about 2 years ago I got this backed on Kickstarter, but of course there's a lot happened in the last 2 years that slowed things down. I'm just glad that I've finally got it. So let's have a look at it. Now, as far as these replicas go, we're dealing with a few different scales. The Walkman battery pack, well, that's a 1:1 scale replica, whereas the Asteroids arcade machine, that's a 1/6 the size of an original one. The other thing that's the same scale as the Asteroids arcade is the M90 Micro. That's the lesser featured of the two devices that are in this box. A small Bluetooth speaker designed to look like the M90 boombox, but to fit in with the scale of the arcade machine, so you can create a nice little retro scene. Whereas the M90 Mini, which is the one that I'm most interested in, that is apparently 60% smaller than the original. And in that one, we've got a Bluetooth speaker, a USB SD card reader for MP3s, as well as an FM radio. But of course, it will not play cassettes. Right, let's start opening this up now. This is just the outer packaging. Inside here we'll find 2 boxes, maybe 3 even, because there's a carrying case included with this. Right, it's boxes all the way down. I'm going to leave the Micro to the end. We'll have a look at the Mini, which is the main event, and this is very special because what they've done in here, they've tried to recreate the original box of the M90, something I've never seen in person, but they've just excelled here. I mean, the logos, the typefaces, the fonts, this bit here, Replitronics, with a kind of look-alike Dolby logo. Of course, they've got a skirt around the trademark issues. Similarly, above there, we've got Super RNRS rather than ANRS. I mean, if they wanted to, they could have just used a normal plain cardboard box for this. So it just shows the love and care and attention that they've put into this device. Right, so first off, well, we've got some replacement knobs for the front, because of course the knobs on the scaled down device might be a little bit small for your fingers, so those just slot over the top. And a mini cassette there. Of course, non-recordable, just a prop. And it's in its carrying case already. So let's get it out of there. Now, I think you can get it without this case. This was just one of those options that you tick when you're buying it. And I believe they did a couple of different designs of case as well. I preferred the look of this plain black one. Let's open this up. Wow, look at that. Brilliant. Oh, we've got a peel moment. Hold on. What else have we got in here? The remote control and the USB charging lead. Now, I forgot all about the remote control. I have got one for this, it's just I've stored it away somewhere and I forgot to get it out for this video. But yeah, it does look just like that. And these buttons appear to function and do something, and there's a 3.5mm jack on the end there. So we'll have a play around with that once we've got it up and running. Of course, we've got this USB-C charging lead. This thing doesn't take batteries, it's rechargeable. I think this would be an appropriate time to get the micro out as well. So let's just have a look at this one. And as you can see here, they've done the same job with the packaging. Again, we've got a couple of things in here. We've got a USB charger lead, USB-C again. We've got the manual. I'm sure that was in the other one, I just didn't notice it. Oh yeah, there we go. So everything's just been scaled down. Now there's a double peel on this one. I've just taken the blue off and it looks like there's still some plastic left on there. Yeah, there we go. So if you get hold of one of those, make sure you take that off as well. Right, so there you go. That's the complete family. Now, a couple of things I'd like to point out here, showing the attention to detail again, going as far as the stickers that came on the devices when they were new. They've got them on both the Micro here and the Mini, this one across the speaker, and then especially this one is important that says Big Power on the cassette door. Now, of course, when people bought these, a lot of them would have just peeled them off. I think I would have been one of those people. But now, after all these years, that Big Power sticker is something that's favoured by collectors. It's iconic, it's representative of this particular machine, and people like to have that in place on the cassette door. I have seen replicas of those made in the past, but unfortunately I've been unable to get hold of any for my machine. Now, there's another difference between these two machines, and that's that this is the Japanese model, the Victor one, whereas this is replicating the JVC one that was sold around the world. And it isn't just down to the legends being in Japanese on the buttons and the knobs and dials and things, it's down to the fact that the layout is slightly different. You might be able to spot it on the left here. We've got a load of buttons at the top there, and on mine there aren't so many, and the reason for that is because the Japanese version just had an FM AM radio, whereas the JVC version that was sold around the world had a shortwave radio with a number of different bands, and these buttons would be to select those bands. So yeah, this is a replica of the JVC M90 rather than the Victor M90, but generally they're pretty similar. Again, that video I made previously, it will explain the differences between the two. But the thing I want to do next is to charge both of these up. Now I'm just about to plug in my USB lead here to charge it up, and I've noticed even the back of this looks identical to the original. The design of this is the same. Of course, we don't have the battery compartment that's operational on this one, it's just there for show, but it still opens up. Anyway, let's plug that USB-C lead in here. Lights come on. I'm just going to leave this one to charge for a bit. Of course, this one's simplified down from the larger one. For example, the fake battery door on this doesn't open, but the design on the back here has been made to look just like the original, and indeed you can lift up these aerials and extend them, tiny little telescopic aerials, although there is no FM radio in this one, so these really are just for show. This is just a Bluetooth speaker, but we'll let it charge up and then we'll have a bit of a play around. Okay, so talking about functionality, as far as the Micro goes, well, you've got this one button on the back which is for turning it on, which automatically initiates pairing for Bluetooth, and then that button also becomes a play and pause button. If I press it now, you'll hear the audio start, hopefully. There we go. And then this is a real working volume control. The only other part of this that is functional, down here in the socket that would have been the remote control on the smaller one and the original, that is now a microphone. So you can actually make Bluetooth calls over this. And right now, you're listening to a recording that has been made through this microphone. And these really are true stereo speakers.
Right, 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 right.
So that's it for the M90 Micro, other than I haven't mentioned that it makes a nice sound when you turn it on. And a different one when you turn it off. It has surprisingly decent sound quality for its size, And it's a nice little novelty, but it's not the main event here. We want to move on to the M90 Mini. Now there's a good proportion of the controls on here actually function, as well as the ones that are here just for show. Down at the bottom here, these would have been the buttons for the cassette deck mechanism on the original. However, on this, it's the power button there. We've got the mode button here, play and pause, track skip forward and back. And the eject button does work for the cassette deck, and we can put our little Memorex lookalike cassette in here just to complete the look. Now moving upwards, these controls for the bass, treble and balance, those all function as they should do, as does the main volume control here. Above there we've got the tuning dial for the radio, and you can see at the top here it actually moves the thing in the window. So the only other bit that doesn't move, unfortunately, is down here, the VU meters. Those are just static, and of course we've got the tape counter, which does nothing either. Let's turn it on though. So we're just going to hold down the power button, and we get that same sound we got with the other one. Now you can switch between the modes here. It's gone into the Bluetooth mode straight away. I've already paired this up, so if I just get a device out here and play something into it. It has a really decent quality of sound that belies its small size. It does feel quite substantial as well, heavy, well constructed, and you can make it go way too loud if you really wanted to. As far as the controls for the bass, treble and balance, they might be a little bit small for some people to operate with their fingers, although they're not the kind of thing that you mess around with all the time. However, if you did want to have a greater control over them, you can use these little add-on knobs that just pop over the top. So that's the treble there, and you can just leave those in place if you wanted to, and they don't upset the look of the front of it too much. But I think I'd leave it original, because how often am I going to be messing around with the bass and treble? Once you've got them in the position that you want, you tend to just leave them there. Now let's move on to some of the other features here. So to move through the different modes, you just press this mode button down here. Now it's in the radio mode. It's got a little introductory sound for each one, so you'll see the radio light come on up here. And I'll just turn the sound up a bit. Hopefully we don't hit anything that's going to give us a content match. I'll just turn that down, but you can see we've got the stereo light coming on up here as well. So it's a fully functional radio. And again, it sounds just fine. Of course, there's no presets or anything on this. It's just a normal manual tuner. But it picks up everything that I'd expect to be able to pick up in this location.
Performing yn gartre ni wneud yn really that.
Great. Now, moving on. Next mode. That's moved on to the inputs on the back. Now I haven't got anything in there at the moment, so let's just plug something in. I've got a 64 gig stick here. I formatted this as XFAT. I don't know whether you're supposed to say XFAT or XFAT. And in the back you can see we can use either a micro SD or this USB, or plug a 3.5mm auxiliary into it. Now I'll just pop that in there. You'll hear a chime, I think, in a second, once it recognises it. Maybe not. Maybe I'm in the wrong mode. Let's press mode again. Oh no, here we go.
This is a FLAC file.
And now you'll hear my audio test.
Is a WAV file. This is a 320 kilobits per second MP3. This is a FLAC file. This is a WAV file.
Yeah, so on that USB stick I've got a WAV file, a FLAC file, an MP3, also an OGG Vorbis and an AIFF. It ignored the last two, and as you can hear it can play the other three just fine.
320 kilobits per second MP3.
Right, so this time I'm just putting a 16GB micro SD card in the back. This one's formatted as FAT. Once you put it in, it should start playing automatically, as it has done. I'll just pause it there, because the reason I put this one in is that I want to test out the remote control. Right, so that's moved into the radio mode. You'll see the light come on in a second up there. And the next mode, I think that's the auxiliary port. And then this next one, that's the Bluetooth. So if I press play on this, it should start playing. Although I think it might have to link up first. Let's just have a listen. There we go. It's linked now, so we'll press play. There we go. And that's playing off the Walkman now. Now, given the fact that Micro is proper stereo, you'd expect this one to be as well. And of course it is. Let's just press play and I'll give you a demonstration.
Left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, 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 right, left, right, left, right, 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 left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left.
Whenever you've got your phone connected up to a Bluetooth speaker to listen to some music and then somebody rings you on the phone, you don't want to have to go through the whole process of disconnecting the Bluetooth to be able to speak to them. And that's why a lot of these Bluetooth speakers will have built-in microphones. This one is no exception. However, in the manual here, it mentions that that microphone is located there at position number 4. And that is this down here. Now, on the original device, that would be the headphone output. But keep your eye on this waveform here and see what happens as I move my finger across that section. Not a great deal, and yet it is picking my voice up from somewhere, so there is a microphone built into this. Turns out they put it down here in a more appropriate position. It's behind the mixing mic sockets, or the replicas of those. Of course, those are the original sockets at the back right there, but just watch what happens as I move my finger across these. Yeah, so that's where the microphone is, and let's just hear a bit of a recording from it. So here you go, this is what you'd sound like if you were making a call over the M90 Mini. Now, just answering a couple of questions that I got on Patreon when I previewed this video. The battery compartment door is, of course, for storage now on this one. Will it hold the remote control? The answer is yes, but only just. It's a bit of a tight fit with all that wire. And of course, if you also wanted to carry around the USB-C charging lead, well, you couldn't do that at the same time, and that looks like it's a bit of a tight fit in there as well. And then, of course, on top of that, you've got those metal knobs that you might want to keep with your device. I think I'd probably just keep these in the back of there and then use the storage case for everything else. But of course, that means you're buying the storage case. But let me just talk about that for a second. It's vacuum formed, hard cover. It's going to protect your device. Inside the front of here, there is some sponge to push against the front of it, and also we've got that storage area in the back for our accessories. In addition to the carrying handle here, we've also got a shoulder strap for it as well, so I think that is a nice accessory. Now, on top of that, some people ask me about the manual. Of course, it says it's a service manual. That's just designed to look like the original. Inside, you'll get the instructions in a total of 5 languages. And one more thing to mention in the front of here, they give thanks to the Boombox Museum, and you can see along the bottom we've got the outlines of the future boomboxes that are planned for this range. And finally, for these questions, a couple of people asked me whether or not the tweeters were real. Well, I'm not expecting them to be. Of course, they've got to be there to look like the original. The reason why I have an issue against fake tweeters on modern day devices is when the design doesn't have to have tweeters on. They just put them on there to make you think you're buying something better than it is. But here, of course, if they left them off, it wouldn't look like the original. In fact, let's just open the back up and double check that. Okay, so there you go. That's the back half of the case. If we just pull the front over here, you can see that the tweeters, the actual driver bit would be about the size of my little fingernail, so it wouldn't make much sense to have one of those in there, and indeed they don't. They've just got the 2 main ones, but these look quite substantial. They've got good porting around them. They're stuck to the back here with all this plastic moulding, no doubt, to improve the sound quality. We've got the large battery there at the top that's stuck to the back. A bit of circuitry here which is bringing the ports through from the back panel to the front. Now moving on to the front, we've got another large circuit board there. The tuning dial is at the bottom here because of course I've got it upside down, and we've just got the speaker grills at the top there and the mechanism for the door on the front. And again, just got to reiterate, the lack of a tweeter is of absolutely no concern inside here because these are great sounding all-in-one drivers. A tweeter just is not required here. So there you go, that's the M90 Mini and Micro, and I've got to say I absolutely love the Mini. the amount of attention to detail and effort that's gone into producing something this well realised is something that I really do appreciate. I'd have perhaps appreciated it a little bit more if they'd have got those VU needles to light up and bounce along in time with the music, but I fully understand why they couldn't do something like that on a scale like this. But the amount of things that they have got working, the radio tuner and things with a proper moving dial, the sound quality on this, outstanding for something of this size. It really does feel like a substantial device. So it doesn't just look amazing, it sounds great as well. This is going to be my go-to portable Bluetooth speaker from this point on. And why wouldn't you want to use something that looks this great and sounds that great as well? Now this, well, more of a novelty, something that goes along with those miniature arcade machines being the same scale. Although, I've got to say, they've got this sounding surprisingly good for its size. So these are still available. That's the Micro. You can still find those on the website at the time I'm recording. These are understandably already out of stock, but there will be some more made in the future. But I hope you've enjoyed having a look at the M90 Mini and Micro, and if you want to have a look at the video on the full-size one, that'll be linked to in the video description, as will the links to where to get these from. But that's it for the moment. As always, thanks for watching.